Hi, you guys. Hey, all right, maths. So this week we're looking at adding and subtracting decimals, and that's confusing because that's not the heading you can see on here. I just want to quickly have a little quick minute to revise rounding and repeating decimals. Some of you are really good at this. I know you started doing it in primary school, and some of you are looking around going, I've never done this before in my life. So rounding is just giving your answer correct to a certain number of decimal places. In our community, we often round to 2 decimal places, okay, because we all use money all the time, okay. When we're rounding, we also round up in fives because the smallest currency that Australia has is a 5-cent piece, okay. When you're rounding decimals, you look at the first digit after the number of decimal places required. So looking at this first question here, if I'm going to 3 decimal places, I'm looking at the 3 numbers after the decimal place, not that 3 as well, because that's before the decimal spot. And then I'm looking at the number after that. So that's an 8. Now, if that's 5 or above, that 1 is going to change to a 2, and if that's not 5 or above, so 1, 2, 3 or 4, then that will remain 0.641. As it is, if I'm going to 3 decimal places, that would become 3.642. Okay, if I was only going to 2 decimal places, all right, I look at the last number after the 2 numbers after the decimal point, and I see it's a 1. Is it 5 or above? No. So that would stay exactly the same, 3.64. Okay? So that first question asks you to round to 2 decimal places, and we just did that first one. Okay? So let's have a look at the second question here. To 2 decimal places. So here's my 2 numbers after the decimal point. Look at the next number. Is it 5 or above? Yes, it is. Okay, so our answer is going to change, and that last number is going to jump 1 up. So that's going to become 18.97. Let's see if we are correct. 18.97. Well done, Snaps. Very good. So the next example, round the following to the number of decimal places shown in the brackets. Okay, so this one says 4. So let's have a look at the 4 numbers after the decimal place, and it just does not want to let me do that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, look at the number after that, 7. Is it 5 or above? It very much is. So that 9 is going to have to add 1 on. The only thing is, when you add 1 on to 9, it becomes 10. Okay, and that 1 from the 10 belongs in the next column over here. So that's going to become a 3, and the 9 becomes the 0 part of the 10. Sounds quite convoluted, okay? So think of it as if that was 29, those 2 last numbers, and I add 1 more, it obviously becomes 30, doesn't it? So it's going to be 27.4630. Let's check our answer down here. We are very much correct, okay? So that's as difficult as it gets rounding up. And remember, if you ever get confused, if you are adding 1 to put the 2 numbers together, 29 plus 1, easily you know that that equals 30, and those 2 numbers change to 30. The next question here asks us to go to 3 decimal places. So, I've got a message. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 decimal places. Now let's look at that 4th number. Is that 5 or above? Very much so. It's number 9. So that number 9 is going to add 1 and change into a 10. Now if we had 99, we would know that becomes 100. So you would have a 1 in that middle number there in front of the 9, okay? And the rest would be zeros. Let's go down and check if we're correct. Okay, 0.010, okay? Well done. So those 2 are a little bit more complicated. Feel free to have a look at them yourselves in a minute. The next one, round 8.672 to the nearest unit. What's a unit? You're a unit. I'm a unit. A unit is one thing, okay? Unless you've had part of you sliced off, you are one thing, you are a unit. So a decimal can't be a unit. A fraction can't be a unit. 1 is a unit and 17 is 17 units. 17.5 is 17 units and some other stuff, okay? So a unit. So if we're rounding 8.672 to the nearest unit, then we're just looking at the stuff before the decimal point. So we're just looking at this part of the question here. So if I have a look at the next number, is it 5 or above? Well, it's a 6, so it is. So that number is going to change this number from an 8 to a 9. So we have 9 units, okay? Melinda's gone crazy. Melinda had $51.67 in her bank account and she wanted to withdraw all her money, so the bank rounded the amount to the nearest 5 cents. How much money did they physically hand to Melinda? Okay, first of all, I hope Melinda is spending her money wisely. Let's have a look. 51.67. So we're rounding up to the 5 cents, all right? And you all know this number here, okay, it's either got to be a 5 or a 0 if we're rounding up in 5 cents, okay? So if we think about if we think about if that is a 5 or above, okay, is it closer to 0.65 or is it closer to 0.7, okay, because those are our only options. It's got to go up in 5s. So 0.67 is closer to 65 and they will hand her over $51.65. And some of you are thinking, oh, she's been ripped off, 2 cents, man. That's just the way it works, okay? If we did not have 5 cents in our culture and we only rounded up to zeros, let's have a look at this question again. $51.67, we're rounding up to the closest 10. Is 60 the closest 10 or is 70 the closest 10? It would be $51.70, okay? So if we only had 10 cents in our currency, Melinda would be getting 3 cents for free. Because we have 5 senses in our culture, she's missing out on 2 cents, all right? That's why it's important to understand going to 2 decimal places, okay, and knowing where that should be. It doesn't really happen a lot. Most of the things you buy are rounded to 5 cent pieces unless you buy something specific from the deli or whatever that might have an awkward number. And when you buy petrol, if you're just free pouring your petrol, sometimes you'll get $51.67 as the amount that you pay in petrol, okay? Let's move on. Oh, that went fast. Repeating decimals. So when a decimal number ends or terminates, like the Terminator, after any number of decimal places, it's called finite, okay? The decimal 0.124 is an example of that, all right? Sometimes when we divide, the answer keeps coming up and up again. So if you haven't got your calculators, can you just pause this video for a second and grab your calculators? So to give you an example, if you press in 1 divided by 3, you're going to get the same thing coming up, 0.333333333. All right, it's a recurring decimal. It's not always the same number over and over and over again. Sometimes it's a pattern, like 0.124124, okay? So let's have a look at this first question. Convert 1/11th to a decimal. Now obviously you can do this way and you're going to get this answer, but I've just asked you to all get your calculators there, so can you put that in? 1/11, as you all know, is exactly the same as 1 divided by 11. And what you should see on your calculator is this exact response, 0.090909. Okay, there's no point writing that out over and over and over again. There is a much simpler way to do that, and that is to put a little dot above the 09 or a little dash. Okay, and then you don't have to keep writing it over and over again. So here is how we do that. I don't know if that's big enough for you to see. So instead of the decimal 4.66666, all right, we're just going to write 4.6 and put a little dot at the top. Okay, where we've got a decimal like 3.512512, you can either write it with a little dot above the 5 and the 2, because that's the first and the last bit of the pattern, or you can just write it with a dash across the 512, and that's personally how I do it. I prefer dashes. So here's an example here where they've done the dash. So this repeating decimal 6.121212, they've just done 6.12 with a dash, and we all know that that is a repeating one. I didn't finish that sentence and I apologise. Okay, use the result from worked example 14 to find the decimal equivalent for 6/11. Okay, you've got your calculator there. 6 divided by 11 equals 0.545454. How would we write that? You can either have a dot over both of those numbers or a dash over both of those numbers. Okay, that's it. I'm going to put up some questions for you to have a go at. See if you can get through question 3. What you'll be doing here is you'll be just rounding to the number of decimals shown in the bracket. So the first question, if you would like to do together, let's get through that. So, let me highlight now. Oh, thanks. I thanked my laptop. So we've got we're up to 2 decimal points here, 2 numbers past the decimal point, 0.38. Look at that last number afterwards. Is that 5 or above? Yes, it is. So that changes to 2.39. Excellent. Okay. They should get harder as you go on. Be careful. Every question you do asks for a different amount, so don't find 2 decimal places for every question there. Enjoy. Bye.